session 4. Guys, is I audible?
Yes, Anna.
Yes, Anna.
Okay. Okay, let's continue with our session 4. And today we are going to learn about Python functions. Basically, a function is nothing but a block of code that are due for a specific job. It means that we are giving some assigning specific task to that functions. It's like separate blocks. This is known as functions. When you the Python functions have 4 types: user-defined function, built-in function, lambda function, and recursive functions. Basically, a function is a block of code that are designed to do a specific job. The function should be called if the specific task to be performed. For example, if we create a sum of function, it means that we have to add some of the numbers. So we are just calling that sum of function to work that specific job for performing addition. So this is known as functions. And the functions are, I said that it had 4 types: user-defined, built-in, lambda, and recursion. User-defined functions are functions that are created by ourselves. Like our users are creating a function in a Python for our specific task. Whereas in built-in functions, the Python module itself have an inbuilt functions. So that inbuilt functions are known as built-in functions. The built-in functions are very useful in every programming languages, and every programming languages will have built-in functions. And user-defined functions are the functions that are created by the users for ourselves to perform a specific job. Specifically, so we are creating a user-defined function. And this lambda function is known as anonymous function. It is used for one-time function, whereas these functions created will be in the code. So we can call it many times when we want it. So when we want that function to be performed, we can call that function easily by typing a code for once itself. So this function makes that code reusability high. And this recursive function is known as, it is also some of like loop structures, but recursive function is a little different than loop. This recursion means it performs repeatedly certain actions until a certain condition tends to true false. So this is known as recursive function. And the main advantages of function is to avoid repetition of code. It means if we are writing a code for 100 lines, when the function we are writing with a function and the function is used for 5 to 6 times, we can just call the function in a single line by typing a function for once. But if we write again and again for the same code, the code will be higher. So the repetition will be higher in the code session. So these functions avoids repetition. So this is the main advantage of the function, and it makes a high degree of reusing the functions. This is the basic concept of functions. Is there any doubt? Guys, say yes or no.
This lambda function, I don't understand.
Lambda function is nothing more. It's just anonymous. It means it's something we just use for a single time. I will explain it in the next further.
Okay.
First, going for functions, user-defined functions. Here, the user-defined functions have some of the rules to be followed while defining a function. So that rules have been listed here. Function blocks must begin with the keyword def. The function should start with the def keyword. I think I have example next slide. So the first rule is to be the function should followed with the def keyword, started with the def keyword, and by function name and parenthesis. And the second rule is to be any input parameters or argument should be placed in these parameters. What the inputs and arguments should be passed should be in the parenthesis. Parenthesis is this C brackets. This is known as parenthesis. So when you define a function, we will have that def function name with the parenthesis. This parenthesis will have arguments. And the third is to be the code block always comes after colon. After defining a function, def keyword, def function name and parenthesis, we should keep a colon. This means that we are going to define a block in that for a function. So this colon is used for the assigning a block of code. And the return statement is used in the functions if we need it. I will having some disturbance in mic. Swati, turn off your mic. Okay. And this Python in function names, we should not use any keywords. I had already said that identifier in identifier, while we defining identifier, we should not use keywords. Like that, in functions also, we cannot be used that keywords name as a function name. That I will explain the syntax and example. This is the syntax for the user-defined function. The def keyword in front and the function name with the parenthesis. In this parenthesis, we will have a arguments passing parameter 1, parameter 2. And the colon, after this colon, a indentation will be there and the block of statements will be inside this function. When we call this function with this function name, this block of code will be executed. This is the basic working of user-defined function. This is the example. Here we started with the def keyword and the function name is hello, and we have given parenthesis. We didn't pass any arguments, and in colon is given and the indentation is performed, and the block of code is print statements are print hello Python return. Here this is a defining a function. Here when we run this function, it doesn't print anything, just the function will be run. Is this having any syntax doubt in this user defined function? Guys, Rahul, can you turn off your mic?
This return, just return is enough, or you have given again expression or none? So you have given here none.
Basically, the return function will return none only. But
Okay.
if we given any return value with the return statement, it will give the return that value. For example, if we give return 0, it will produce the 0. If you just print return, it will give none only. Here, this is just defining a function. It doesn't perform any of the actions here because we didn't call the function. I think you are clear with the syntax. The starting should be with the def keyword and the continued with the function name and the parenthesis. If we want to pass any arguments, we will give arguments in this parenthesis inside, and colon if we give the indentation, and we have the statement blocks. Is that clear, guys?
Sir, I have one doubt. Is this return we want to put mandatory or not?
It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory.
Could you explain the use of return statement?
Use of return is nothing but that if the code runs perfectly, it says that it have been run. So if you have any doubt in that code, if any error occurs, it will not produce that output. So in that time, we cannot be known that whether the function had been run or not. So we are giving a return value with that it have performed that. So we are giving that return statement for that purpose.
Okay, sir. In that person, we want to return 0 or 1. I like that comment, right?
Yes, sir. We can give that return 0. Basically, the return function will give produce none. I will show that in code itself next in next slides itself.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now I think the syntax must be clear for the user-defined function. And the advantage of user-defined function is the function helps us to provide programmable model, just make code easy to manage. I have already said that the repetitions of code had been reduced because of this function, so it makes code easier to manage. If you have any doubt in certain part of the code, we can just check that function itself. So we cannot go through the full code. So just we can go for that function. So now it's not properly working. So just check with this function. We can check it. So it is easier to manage the code in the large cases, and it implements code reuse. We can use it many much times how we need it. So we can call the function whenever it's needed. So once when we define a function in a program, we can call it many number of times as of what you want. And functions allows us to change functional easily, and different programs can work on the different functions. It says that the different programmers can work on if we are writing a code and we are sharing to another person, so the person just can check the function itself and can analyze what the working is doing. So just it makes the code easier. So this is the main advantages of user defined function. And here in this last example, we have seen that without any parameters, right? So just we are going with the parameters, passing parameters in function. So this is the syntax. We are giving def and the function name and the parameters with the separated by commas with the colon and the statement blocks. So this is the example. Here starting with the def keyword and the function name is area. We are opening parenthesis and we giving a two parameters w and h, which means we are going to call the function with this. So while we call this function, that this print area 3, 5, the 3 and 5 will go inside this. So 3 will go to W and 5 will go to H. So the return W star H will give the 3 into 5, 15 as the answer. This is the above code. This is what the parameters is passing inside, how to be parameters passed inside a function. Basically giving a def keyword, function name, and the parenthesis inside the parameters, the parenthesis we are giving a parameters known as variables or arguments. So which we pass, it will works as a statement box. Is that clear? That I will explain in the code. Now I'm performing def hello, just first basic function starting with without parameters. Now I'm giving print quotes. Welcome. Now this function will run, but it will not produce any of the output. So I have said that, and now I'm running this module, and it will not give any of the output. This is why, because we didn't call the function. When we call the function only, the function will be work. Now I'm calling the function hello of. Now I'm just calling this function. Now I'm saving this and run. Now it produced welcome because the function had been called. So this function, when we call this function, it goes function inside and the print statement works. So we got the output as welcome. Yeah, you can see that the welcome. So this is the basic function, how it works. Now we are going for parameters. So just we can have def sum. So we are going to perform some of the operations. So we are giving a values x, comma, y. All the parameters should be separated with commas. So we can give x, comma, y, comma, z also. So how much parameters we are going to pass, we can give. So now I'm going to print of x plus y. Now I'm calling the function sum of. So just this is basic program. Now I'm running this. It shows error because we didn't pass any of the values in the arguments. So I'm giving now 5, 6. Now I'm running this. You can see here 11. This is known as parameter passing in a function. How when we are assigning parameters, what we are going to pass, and when we call the function, we are giving the parameters inside the calling function. So this 5 and 6 will go inside this def sum of function, and it will perform the operations in the below block of code. Is that clear, guys? Anybody having any doubts? Yeah, okay. And I said that I will show that return. So here I'm giving this return. This return will print none. So it nothing prints, just to the statement block of the code, print x plus 1. Let's go to the next anonymous functions or lambda function. This anonymous or lambda function is nothing but just written for the once use function. So in Python, anonymous function is a function that is defined without a name. We doesn't give any name to the function. Like in previous example, we will give some of the function name as area, some like that. But in lambda function, we doesn't want to give any name with it. Just with the lambda keyword, we can go out with this function. So it is known as anonymous function. We didn't give any name, so it is anonymous. So it is known to be anonymous. While normal functions are defined using the def keyword in Python, anonymous functions are defined using the lambda keyword. Like in normal functions, we use this def keyword. Here we use the lambda keyword. So what is the use of lambda or anonymous function? This lambda function is mostly creating for the small and one-time functions. Like I said that it is used for one-time running function. So we doesn't give any name to it. So it just run for once when we call that lambda function. So this is known as lambda. And in further cases, we can use this with a filter of map of and reduce of. This map of filter of reduce of are the some of the built-in functions which we use used with this lambda or anonymous functions. This basically this filter, map, and reduce are built-in functions which can be combined and used with this lambda functions. And the syntax for the lambda function is lambda and the arguments with the colon and expression. This is known as anonymous function. Going with the example. And here you can see that we are giving a variable sum. So sum is equal to lambda arg1 comma arg2. This arg1 and arg2 are the variables which are giving. Like that in last example, we give that w comma h. Like that here we are giving that arg1 comma arg2. This colon indicates that after this argument passing ends, what the performance should be run. Like this block of code. Here we have said that return w star h after this colon, right? So like that here in lambda functions, we are using this arg1 plus arg2. Here we are going to add some of the values arg1 and arg2. So and producing this output in sum. So the print will work as a after this argument passing. Just I will explain in this code. I am giving sum is equal to lambda keyword should be must lambda, and we can give any variables. So I'm giving x comma y and giving colon. Now I'm going to perform plus operation. So x plus y should be written. So I'm giving x plus y, and I'm going to print statement print of just calling the variable sum for printing, and we are giving the values here. So 5 comma 4. I'm going to save this. I'm saving this. You can see here 9, the output of the code. So this is lambda function. Variable is equal to lambda keyword with the arguments with colon and the performance of code, what the code should be. Here I can give also x star y and performing some twice operation like x star y plus, again I'm giving x star y. It is just one time function and it runs. Now you can see this 40. First, the performance of 5 into 4, 20 is done. And this 5 into 4, 20 is done, 20 plus 20, 40. So we are giving the output as 40. So basically, this is lambda function with a variable name and the lambda keyword with the arguments, and the arguments with what the statement block should work, and calling the function in print statement. Is that clear? Anybody having any doubt, guys, in this for lambda function?
No, Dinesh.
Okay. Now built-in functions. Basically, all programming languages will have built-in functions, and it have vast of built-in functions which are very compatible and user-friendly to the users. So there are many built-in functions having. I'm just listing some of the built-in functions only. Later in, if we have time procedures, we can work out with the all built-in functions. But basically, I'm giving some of the how it works and what is built-in function. I'm giving an example. So in this function, first function, we can see that abs of. This abs of is nothing but give the absolute value. It means what we are giving as a defining as a variable with the value, it will give the absolute value of what we declare. It doesn't change anything like round off or something that. If we given here, they are giving x is equal to 20 and y is equal to minus 23.2. And now this minus 23.2 is converted to absolute value, which means perfect value. So it gives that positive integer 23.2. This is known as inbuilt functions. Here in this order, this order of function is gives that we are having ASCII values for every values in the alphabets, numbers, symbols. We are having an ASCII values. The ASCII values are standard values which are given to the programming languages to understand for the machines. Like we are giving A, machine cannot understand it is as A. It will convert as ASCII codes, and the ASCII codes is understand to the machine languages. So this ASCII is a universal code given to the programming languages. Now let's take an example. This A has the ASCII value of 65. So the computer will only understand the 65. So this A is converted to the ASCII values, and the machine will understand the ASCII value only. So this order of function will return what the ASCII values are for the given variables, or what we are giving as an input. So here we are giving C is equal to small a and D is equal to capital A. And we are giving calling the function of order of C. So now this order of C will give the ASCII values of the small a and capital A. So the small a will start with the 97 and the capital A is 65 in the ASCII values. So it giving the output as 97 and 65. Let's show the example. You can also give the print of out of A. And A is equal to small a. Okay, small a. So now this will return the ASCII value of small a. So giving 97. If we run in for loop, you can see that the starting value is off. We can give char of. Here we are giving the next inbuilt function char of. This char of will return the what the values assigned for the ASCII values. So we are giving a number of 97 to 120 in the range. So it will produce that what this 97 having the value. The ASCII 97 will have a value of small a. and the 98 will have the 98 ASCII value will have the value of small b. So like that, you will print that. So I think it will work. Let's check. So you can see here A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on up to 120. So this is known as ASCII values. This is the next built-in function. Here you can see here char of. This char of will return the Unicode character for the ASCII values. So now we are assigning the ASCII values here in this code 97 to 120. So it produces the value of 97 to 120 in the output filter. Is that understand what that built-in function is doing?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the order of and character of. Order of will give the ASCII values and the character of will give the values of the ASCIIs. So here I going to then bind. This bin of will give the convert that our code into binary code. Computer will, first of all, computers are working with zeros and ones. So basically, the binary numbers will have the values. If we learn in the C, it's starting itself, we can learn that what is binary values and how that machine is converting that binary values. So this bin-of function is basically converting the values into binary functions. And this min of, max of, sum of are the basic functions which we can write and also perform user-defined function. But already we are having inbuilt function for finding min, max, and sum. So if we check for this min means, if we're giving a list of values and a list of values, in this list it will find the minimum value. So automatically it's inbuilt for working the minimum list. If we want to basically use define creating a use define function, we will just compare taking one and comparing with another one and finding which is lesser. If it is lesser, show this as less. So like that, we are performing some of the option. But Python gives us this by built-in functions to find the min and max. Next, I will explain with show it with the code. Now I'm giving that list is equal to I'm giving a values of some of the 3, 5, 56, 78, 1. So I'm giving some of the values. Now I'm print max of L. L is the list we are having. So it just perform a max function to this value of list 3, 56, 78, 1 and giving the value of max. And I next line I'm giving the print of min of L. So it will give the minimum values of the list. Just we can also having the time. Minimum value in list. This is maximum. So maximum value in list. So now I'm saving this and run. So just running again. So here you can see that the maximum value is in the list is 78 and the minimum value list is 1. So it just perform the inbuilt operation and giving the output. Is that clear, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. So basically, this is known as built-in functions. We are having vast of built-in functions inbuilt with this Python.